And we are live. Thank you for taking a moment to join the Fanboy Cantina. Thanks for spending a little bit of your Saturday with us. Here we're joined by Mr. C. Mr. C, how are you doing?
Feeling good, pal. Glad to be back around again. I see you've it's good to have community. I saw
Yes.
you on the other channel the other night, and so it's cool to be participants or contributors to some positive entertainment business going around in the world of YouTube.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah. So, what Mr. C is referring to, I got to be a guest on streaming Star Wars Network Around the Galaxy Live or ATG Live. That was a lot of fun talking about toys and some other stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And so if you have not seen ATG Live, be sure to go to Streaming Star Wars Network on YouTube after this show. So thank you for that. Hey, and we are joined by no less than the legendary Chris Ryans from Bro Axiom. How are you doing, Chris? That is great. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. And yeah, and Chris Ryans was also on ATG Live last week. And I think I would be remiss if I did not post this. Be sure to go to Bro Axiom Outpost where you can take advantage of some really, really wonderful deals on the website. And you can use the okay, you gotta wait for the scroll to come back around again. You can use the Fanboy Cantina discount code for 10% off, which is a phenomenal, phenomenal deal.
I see comments are stacking again, so why don't I stay out of the way for a second so we can catch comments? But then I want to share what was amusing to me from the other night.
Oh, sure, yeah. And so, hey there, Skywalker's Academy. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate you spending some time. Hello there, indeed. Yeah, I hear Broaxium Outpost sells Star Wars figures. Who would have thought? Like this one that I picked up from, I will take a moment to shill a little bit. This one that I picked up from the, how can I, yeah, okay, from Broaxium Outpost. This is fantastic. And really love the packaging. And thank you, Chris, for also including the sleeve or featuring the sleeve. You know, a lot of other retailers, it's kind of dicey of when they'll arrive and whether they'll come intact. So always a great experience.
So a highlight for me, and I'm blurry on the specifics, but let me just cut to the bit.
Yeah.
So the hosts of the other channel asked you, did you use their discount code? And without missing a beat, you came back in and said, well, I used the Fanboy Cantina discount code. And I was like, yeah, either discount code would be amazing. But yes, the fact that there exists a Fanboy Cantina discount code on the Bro Axiom, it cannot get any better than that.
that was quite funny. Yeah. And it was great talking about one of the toys that you actually have, Mr. C, which is you have the Kenner Death Star, or your wife has the Kenner Death Star. And yeah, I would love for there to be a HasLab Kenner Death Star. I would love for that to be in my collection. Probably wouldn't love a Black Series scale one because that would be as big as a closet or as big as a room, but that would be, oh my goodness. Are you actually gonna
completely unplanned?
Oh my goodness, we're traipsing. There it is. There it is. See, that is amazing. And you've got the figures in it, the actual vintage figures in it, along with the land speeder. That's amazing. I know I can't believe you have all the capes intact too.
Well, I see we're getting good comments.
I gotta go to the single shot. I'm going to a single shot. This is
now again, maybe because it was supposed to be a show we did that did not then manifest, was for you and I and MIB to come on and speak on this. But maybe we get you and me and Mr. Bro Axiom, Chris Roynes, and MIB all together and comment on this. Now, I'll just highlight again, We got a decent amount of Simpson Funko over here as well. We got some Bears paraphernalia, obviously Svengoolie and other stuff. Let me see if I can re-navigate as smoothly as I did. Might as well stop
there we
and
go.
give a little shout out for
Yeah.
Nicole Hoff there in the middle, and then Dex Mex on Etsy, just keeping our tiki themes. Let me get our shag lamps in there real quick, and let me try to successfully navigate back to. Yeah, thanks for reducing the screen so we don't have to.
As we get back to the back to the setting. That's amazing. And actually, Mr. Jim Campbell asks, can we get a close up of the Han Solo Oasis member? Yeah. So if you're watching Mr. C Dives In, which we just live streamed on your channel a hot minute ago, just literally seconds ago, that was among the things we talked about. How is it that in the retro collection that, yeah, it looks like the members of you got members of Oasis as action figures. That's pretty accurate. And Skywalker's Academy adds, I got 2 of them, and they're huge. I saw somewhere where somebody had several, not multiples of these things, so you could have like an entire circle of Death Stars. That would be a fortune. And actually, yeah. Did you get the Ghost? I did get the Ghost. So I know we're talking about movies on this, but I got to do the tangent here. So I got the Ghost. I backed the thing within like the first 2 hours that it went live. And I am certain I am the last person to get theirs delivered. I got the Ghost, but I was out of town and I had to pick it up from the local FedEx because you have to sign for it, this thing. And so I drive up over to this place. I figure out I'm gonna be in and out, and dude brings out the hand truck. So that's already kind of like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And then he brings it out, and it is 70 pounds. The Ghost is 70 pounds. And on the side, it said, there's a warning sticker where it said, you need 2 people to pick up this thing. And I'm by myself with this thing. And I'm like doing the wobbly, it's like all embarrassing there. Oh my goodness. So Skywalker, I have 3 Razor Crests and 2 Ghost ships. That's amazing. Is it one to open and one to keep, or intact? What's the plan there? I have 1 Razor Crest, which I have yet to open. I tell you, with that one, I felt so bad after the Mandalorian. The HasLab closed. And then the Mandalorian next episode, boom! They decimate the thing, and I thought, oh, my credit card just got the charge for that thing. That stung. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, how do you find the space for all of this? I mean, it's truly a fleet. And Skywalker, yeah, they're on my yes, exactly. It's just too large. It's just too large here. Oh man. All right. So on our topic here, Mr. C, we're talking about the favorite 5 movies of 2024, which is different than, say, the best movies of the year, or anything like that. The Oscar nominations for Best Picture and all of the categories came out, 24 hours or 48 hours ago. And then you can see from the list, the Best Picture nominees include Honora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked, which is quite a mouthful. I've seen 5 of the 10 so far, so I'm not prepared to answer. I will watch all of these films by the time of the Oscars, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, I haven't seen all of these movies, and that's why, Mr. C, the framing is a little different. Just the favorite 5 movies. And so I'm curious, and I'll be curious as we go through this, Mr. C, your feelings about movies. Actually, just maybe to throw it out, best movie that you've seen so far in recent memory this past
Well,
year,
again, are
or
we saying best or favorite? And I'm seeing the
favorite?
chat is
Favorite.
lit. The chat is a little bit. We got Chai Star joining in the
Oh
chat.
yeah.
We got Jim Campbell saying he never seen half of these movies. I am in the same boat. I am in Campbell's corner on this subject matter. The bulk of these movies I haven't seen, as Chris is saying, a Chris to Chris commentary here. I've only seen Wicked on the stage. I have not yet seen Wicked in the movie house. It looks appealing. It is something that is on the eventual list of getting to. Part of the bit or the conceit, the contrivance will be that Fanboy G makes it to the movie house more so than do I, as Chai Star is just jumping in the comments with movies in the theater or the TV. But sometimes they're even on TV and streaming, and I still don't get there, but that's all right. We're working that into the fabric of the conversation of the comedy.
Exactly
Now, to
right.
come to approach the answer to your question, we definitely have a movie on your list that we have both seen. But all I can say is, and just, I was able to see two separate classic monster films of two separate eras. So I did see at the local Pickwick Theater, the first time I've seen it on the large screen, the 1941 Wolfman featuring Lon Chaney Jr. And again, just the subtlety of first of all, it's capturing that universal patented black and white era cinematography and style and mystique and all of it. But just to see the things larger than the TV, to see them, I said I was going to be brief, and now here I am going into the font on the shops and stuff. But it was heartwarming. I'm sitting in the Pickwick Theater, which might have closed in recent years, but found a way to stay open. A classic 1920s movie theater, seeing a 1940s movie on the full screen. And it was a thing I never had before in my 50 plus years. Beautiful. I'll keep it briefer on the, also months before that at another classic Chicago theater, the Music Box, as part of the Godzilla Fest era, as part of the Svengoolie celebrations. I got to see for the first time on the large screen, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, which clearly has literally a full cast of the monsters. So again, just speaking of the general cinema experience, I didn't see current stuff. I saw a couple of old classics, and it's just, again, a little bit magical and a little bit of a theater going experience to see these things on the big screen. But now you, sir, have been a more frequent attender of walking in the actual aisle, like a Siskel, like an Ebert, like others who have come after Siskel and Ebert. So bring us up to speed. Where are we starting on your, not best five, but on your favorite five? Where should we go first?
Yeah, well, I tell you, just building on what you said, there is so much. I have not taken advantage of some of the replays or that happened, the celebrations, the anniversary, screenings of various vintage films. I went to Godzilla Fest here in San Francisco last year, and they did have a theater screening. I forget what it was. I didn't go to that. And then they did have an outdoor screening. I didn't go to that either. But there's a lot to love about being able to see those vintage films on the big screen. You mentioned Music Box. I have a very fond memory of watching The Sound of Music sing along at the Music Box Theater, maybe a decade or so ago. And I've really come to love that movie. I didn't love it as a kid at all, but and over time, really, really love it tremendously. And so that was a tremendous experience. And just about Music Box, much appreciation to the Horror House for all of its participation at the Music Box Theater too.
Salute
really
to the
great.
Horror House guys, Vinny and Moses and Vinny and Aaron, for keeping non-current theatrical releases, but having film fest style revisits of the movies. Again, I'm here more in the color commentary role tonight. So let me add in this Bruin View. There it is, another legendary local. So, but other cities had other expressions of that, of the movie house that was playing non current stuff. And each regional, as the regional horror hosts have a magnificent personality and engagement with their area, so too did the local theaters playing like the Bruin View did, or just whatever the other classic old theaters, or maybe it's not a classic old theater that was still playing some atypical, off the beaten path films. Beautiful thing to have that available. As you mentioned, Sound of Music. Let me come into my color commentary, trying to enrich a little bit, and then get back to the list. So recently, I was just scrolling around and see Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane, and it was very interesting phrasing from Peter Griffin and the other characters. So he was saying that he didn't like a thing, and so this is a spin out to Sound of Music, where the phrase is, it insists upon itself. So that's even an interesting arrangement of words. Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, a thing is so full of itself that it insists upon itself. So MacFarlane was recently quoted that his film teacher or some professor he had referred to The Sound of Music as, this movie insists on itself, and therefore I don't care for the movie. Now, in all my days, I never thought The Sound of Music insisted on itself or was full of itself in any kind of a way. But that, let me just again try to bring in some color commentary. It insists on itself.
So if I were thinking about my favorite all movies of 2024, and if I were also to include documentaries, so I know something about myself and my preferences when it comes to movie watching or films in general. I do love documentaries quite a bit. And so looking at the nominees for a documentary feature film, two documentaries that I truly, truly love are Black Box Diaries and Porcelain War. And both of these were aired at Sundance in 2024, last year at Sundance. And Black Box Diaries was my favorite movie of last year. It is available on streaming. It's the story of a woman named Shiori Ito, and it's a very sensitive subject. It's about sexual assault, and she documents her fight for justice. And this is all during the same time as the Me Too movement. Really wonderful, to the extent that one of these movies could ever be to the extent that this subject matter could be anything characterized as wonderful. But the documentary itself is, phenomenal. I thought so. Anyways, so if I were doing like documentaries in my list, that would probably distort things a little bit, where Black Box Diaries and Porcelain War would show up in my top five. Quickly about Porcelain War. That's about the war in Ukraine. And it's a really powerful documentary about average folks in their battle against the Russians. But then also they insert some amazing artistry when it comes to animation. And, well, yeah, it's worth seeing. All right. So with that, well, oh my goodness. Yeah. Thank you, Chai Star G, for the super chat. Buy yourself some candy and sneak it into a movie. Yeah, that's appreciate you for doing that. Thank you. All right, so let's dive into the top five. Oh, and we should do a bottom five at some point. I do plan to record that one. I don't know if I want to do that one live necessarily, but that's where we take off the gloves and yeah. Some stuff ain't so great. All right, so let's go through the list. So at number 5, and this is going to be a tie for me, actually. If I know ties are cheating, but this is going to be a tie. So
it's your list. Who are you cheating? It's your own list. Your list insists upon itself to have a tie. Let's go with a tie.
There you go. Thank you. So for my tie for number 5, it would be Dee Dee. So and Dee Dee is a really wonderful movie. It's a coming of age movie that takes place in Fremont, and a really wonderful, heartwarming story. It's not just a coming of age story for the main character here, but also the mom in the movie, played by Joan Chen. Really loved this movie. It's got a lot of heart to it. You can tell it's the same the person who wrote it is also the director, is also the producer. You can tell his connection to the subject matter. I think it's somewhat autobiographical because he also grew up in the East Bay here in San Francisco. So really, really wonderful coming of age movie. And I think it's available for streaming right now. The other movie that's tied for number 5, and Mr. C, this is what I'm telling you. I really want you to see this movie. It's Kneecap. And Kneecap, I think, is on Coy Jandro's list of favorite movies of 2024. And, I don't know. I need like time to marinate because maybe it belongs a little bit higher on my list. And this is an amazing movie, and it's features this band called Kneecap in Ireland, and it's played by the actors in this movie are the actual band members of Kneecap, and so it's this rap group where they rap in the Irish language, the native Irish language. And so this movie, it's probably not for family viewing. So, don't do that because it can get a little edgy at times. But, to tell the origin story of this band, which I had never heard of before, was fascinating to watch. Two drug dealers who pair up with a music teacher to create a hip hop band. And this is true. And the performances are from the actual band, members of the actual band. Just phenomenal performances. But then it's also a story about preserving indigenous language, the native Irish language, the Irish dialect, despite, the British pressure to eliminate the language or try to, there's a lot happening in the movie far beyond the origin story of a band. Yeah.
Let me just try to be focused, perhaps laser focused here. So first I want to say I'm just under 30 minutes to the hard out. Our same young man who helped put together the Godzilla mask had okay, so we got I do have a hard out, but now if you could bring back up the image.
Yeah.
If you're going to reference a certain nation, which were a certain group of colonizers who were so this was the story I grew up with from my grandma. If you talked Gaelic, and I understand in her time in the 30s, the people native of Ireland. Oh, keep it up. I need that image up. That was part of if you spoke, then more currently, people will say if you're talking Irish. But in grandma's time, we called it Gaelic. If you talked Gaelic, you would get the ruler on the back of your hand in school from the English-born colonizer schoolmasters, whether you're calling that their item over the head, whether you're referring to it as a ski mask, whether you're referring to it as a balaclava. I'm going to assume there's an important message in this movie, which includes a rejection of colonizing, which should be a universal message, whether you're in the entertainment world of the Empire and Vader and the Rebels and Skywalker and Solo and Leia and Chewbacca and the droids and Lando Calrissian and on, or whether you're in a more reality-based, it is important to reject empires and colonizing. And with that, let's move on to the next picture.
No, that is amazing. And that's the deeper subtext. That's the deeper part of this movie called Kneecap. That's why I am dying for you to watch this movie, because for me, it was powerful. It was a story that I had not heard before about a band I had never heard of. And it had so many messages to it and executed flawlessly. There's so much, or near flawlessly. I feel like it does kind of lose its way maybe a little bit in the third act. Same with DD. I feel like it slows down a little bit, but both of these movies I feel like are powerful for telling stories that I had not heard before, really. And so just really great. In the promo stuff, you'll see Michael Fassbender a lot, but just to set expectations, he is barely in this movie at all. So kind of not a thing. All right. So Chai Sergi, 02. Yeah, that's okay. And okay. All right. Yes, some fancy movies. That's right, Preacher Brother, and then Skywalker, yes, down with oppression and occupation, and then, so that's part of the message of Star Wars, right? But then also it bring this movie. I felt like it brought it more tangible to no, this is happening, within this past generation, this generation. So let's,
I
yeah,
don't recant my content, but I will in this very Chai-Star G provided diver down mug. I went with Dunkin' Donuts coffee this morning as opposed to house-made coffee. So
okay.
perhaps this is a slightly sponsored by Dunkin' Coffee, which might be a little more strongly brewed than how I usually go about the house coffee. Please continue on to the next item.
Well, our next one for number 4, it is a movie that you have seen, Mr. C, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie was so much fun. This was a really, really enjoyable movie. Yeah, I think I've told you before, Mr. C, that Deadpool franchise is not the Deadpool franchise is not a favorite for me. I did not. I've come to appreciate it more, but the vulgarity and other stuff, I've come to now, I guess, get used to. I don't know if that's a good thing, but yeah, that was so much fun, man. And the cameos in that movie are things that I didn't think I needed or wanted, and then to have in its closing moments as really a love letter or a final chapter to the Fox movies Marvel franchise, I just thought it was stunning. That's why it's in my list.
Again, I'm glad you had brought up Sound of Music, which was the bridgeway into the phrase it insists upon itself. So let me say, in the best of all possible ways, on the big screen or the small screen, the Deadpool and Wolverine insists on the best translation of the characters from the comic book page into the movie. And you want to talk the buddy cop genre or buddy cop sensibilities, or again, dialing it back to in our youngest years, right? There's Ernie and there's Bert and there's Kermit and there's Fozzie, and fast forwarding ahead, there's Ponch and John, and there's Miami Vice, there's Agents Crockett and Tubbs, and you get to Kevin Smith era, and but just as far you cannot get a better you're Hall and Oates, you can't get a better two guys together than and the idea of, well, what an end note the final Wolverine picture was supposed to be. You can't do better than a serious depiction of these themes. You get a heavy hitter actor in Patrick Stewart paired with Hugh Jackman, two heavy hitters in the Wolverine picture. Can't get any better than that. But now, to me, on equal par, but in a very different sensibility, Deadpool and Wolverine. We could do a whole separate show on Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll just say it that way.
100%, absolutely. And yeah, okay. See, Tri-Star G, we were talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. We're in the right lane here. And then just yes, the only Deadpool movie I watched, I can understand and appreciate that. And yes, I have absolutely heard about the Nice Pool controversy, the Justin Baldoni and oh man, what is her name? You post in the comments. I'm blanking on Ryan Reynolds's Blake Lively. Thank you. Yeah, that's there's a lot happening right now, and I'm kind of worried that if I rewatch it and I watch that Nice Pool character, is it all just an elaborate dig on this particular guy? Whether it's right or wrong, it just sort of impacts the storytelling a little bit, or the viewing experience maybe a little bit. Anyways, yes, aside from the gratuitous blood and violence, desensitizing the world, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of good humor. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's roll ahead to a number 3 on the list, and this one is Thelma. I felt like this movie was phenomenally under marketed. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of this movie. So it is the story of this grandma played by June Squibb, who is, I think, 92 years old. That's June Squibb there, and she is taken advantage of in like this scam, this phone scam thing, and then she is inspired by watching Mission Impossible, and then goes on this quest for justice. And it was such a fun movie, and it's perhaps sadly Richard Roundtree's last feature film appearance. I thought this was a lot of fun. I saw it virtually at home, and then I went to the theater when it briefly was in the theater. I watched it again there because it was a virtual Sundance, and then it got its feature run. Really fun movie, a family movie, and it's one of those movies that I felt like I look for these movies. There's like genres of movies that I like, and among them is that feeling that I had after watching Stand By Me or The Goonies, right? Where it felt like it took you on an adventure. And I think there's that line in Stand By Me where he says something like, when they came back home, the town seemed a little bit smaller. And it's that kind of feeling, right, that you live through, where it's like a core memory or whatever other kind of expression. So Thelma for me was one of those types of movies.
I'll say this. There was a time where it was a big deal for us to get a Kevin Smith script of whichever picture it was, Clerks or whatever else. But to have a script of Stand By Me with all, I'm using the word heavy hitters again, but with all those poignant, well-phrased captures of the experience of a coming of age. And again, within the coming of age genre, there's so many different expressions between your Stand By Me's and, as you referenced, as your Goonies, as your Pretty in Pinks and your Breakfast Clubs. There's a lot in growing up, and there's a lot of different angles for a filmographer, for a cinematographer to hit it. I see if I can pull Campbell.
Yeah. There you go. You got it.
So, but if you could bring back the image, but if this 90-year-old citizen if that's not the same thing as riding a land speeder, then I don't know what is. But I'm like, is that a Vespa? Is that a Bugatti? What kind of scooter is she on? Oh, of course, she's on
it's the riding
senior citizen age. So to me, it's not for me to direct Mr. Broaxium on what he should or should not watch, but there's a land speeder element right in there.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. Should we be blessed enough to live into our 90s? Yeah, that's probably the land speeder that we're looking at for sure. And then just quickly in the comments, yeah, Richard Roundtree as Shaft, of course. And then Thelma and Louise? Yeah, okay. Yes, it could be that this is Louise and her quest for, or Thelma and her quest for vengeance. And the population. The home feels a little bit smaller too. All right, so let's move to our number 2 on the list here, and it is Wicked. So this is a movie that I was not looking forward to seeing. I saw the trailer. I thought it looked a little funny, and I do have concerns about the whole, adaptation to feature film kind of thing, some reluctance to that. And it was just a wonderful experience at the theater. I've seen it twice in the theater, and I had a fantastic time both times. I thought the performances were amazing. I've never seen the stage production of this movie. And so I knew nothing about, the film other than, you get the commercial that, hey, coming up to the whatever amphitheater, Wicked. And then I get the Defying Gravity song, little excerpt. But I really knew nothing about the music or any kind of exposure to it. And the nominations for this movie for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress, I think, are well deserved. It seems like a misstep that John M. Chu was not nominated for the directing Oscar, but nonetheless, really loved Wicked, and it's just, I had no expectation, or I had very low expectations, and it just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away.
Oh, in my role as
Yeah,
in my Jim Campbell role of trying to provide interesting questions. And now let me separate myself from the Dunkin' Donut possible coffee powered commentary. So you
yeah.
weren't looking to see the movie, but you end up in the theater to view it, and then you, having liked it once, you go back a second time. So what was your hesitation, or just the trailer didn't give the right pizzazz, if you will, to you, or what was, how do we resolve for that
How
contradiction?
did I make
You
that
weren't
leap?
looking to get there, but then you were in the seat in the movie house.
Well, I started seeing like those early reviews. So, channels that you and I typically watch, whether it's, John Roca or Dan Murrell or John Campia at times, the feedback seemed to be so overwhelmingly, positive. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a try. And then when I tried to get tickets, it was really hard to actually get tickets to see the movie. It was sold out. All of the screenings seemed to be sold out at the local AMC. So I was able to get tickets, and yeah, as I said, I was blown away, and I'm so glad that I saw it in the theater with other people who um, apparently knew the material much better than I. They didn't sing along, so that was nice. Don't be that guy. Um,
Oh, I was
don't be
just
that
about to break
person.
into popular, but we'll move on. We'll move on.
Yeah. And okay. And so yeah, let's see, Mr. Chai Sarji, I saw Wicked live. That's enough for me. Yeah. And nothing beats the theater. I completely understand that. And I really want to see it now live in the theater because I understand that there are some differences. There's some issues that I had with certain songs being broken up there. I felt like I could tell that it was meant to be one thing, and I understand it is on the stage production all one thing, but it got kind of choppy at. I don't know if it's my internet here. Am I still connected? I was kind of stuttering on my end, but anyways, yeah, and I just really would love to see it now live in the theater. Yeah, Chris Ryan adds, I never knew Wicked existed until a member of Broaxium told me about it, and I'm now hooked. Yes, I get it. I cannot wait for seeing the second part of this. Director John Chu. Yeah, and it's hard to imagine the same guy who did G.I. Joe Retaliation did Wicked. Oh, and also did Crazy Rich Asians too, and In the Heights. I wasn't a fan of. Oh, that was the other thing. I wasn't a fan of In the Heights either, which is another musical, and that's Lin-Manuel Miranda. Um, but now I got to rewatch that to see, give it that a second chance. And yeah, maybe there's merit to doing a Discord watch along or something like that. Yeah, I love that idea. Something would be really enjoyable. All right, so let's get us to the number one pick here, which is for me, and I'm clicking it. Dune Part Two. Dune Part Two was my favorite movie of 2024. I thoroughly loved this movie. I did not love the part one of the movie, part one of Dune, too much because kind of where it ended. You just knew there was more story. I felt like it kind of ended abruptly. And obviously, it's part one, part two. I get it. Absolutely there. But with this movie, I felt like the visuals were tremendous. The story was flawlessly executed. I was thoroughly engaged, even though they introduced new characters. Everything was just handled so amazingly well. Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya were tremendous in their respective roles. I'm blanking on some of the other actors as well. Austin Butler, really spooky in the film. The only yeah, I think generally speaking, the casting was tremendous, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. There's one moment I in this channel. I guess we could have it later in the upper right hand corner, a link, where I did a review of Dune Part Two, and there's a moment early in it where these characters, these soldiers, are going up, and just the up into space or up, they're flying. and it was just flawless. It was just it took my breath away, and that was just like in the opening like 10 minutes of the movie. So for me, it was just a really, really wonderful movie. I'm not doing a great job of expressing all the highlights. So crime that Denis Villeneuve, the director, was not nominated as best director, I think. But yeah, that's my number one pick.
I have not seen Dune, but now let me again come with it, as we've talked about.
Yeah,
Chai Star G and Jim Campbell wear many hats around these channels. There's comedy
sure.
content, there's contribution. Um, if I go see this movie, is Sting in the movie?
Sting is not in the movie. Kyle MacLachlan not in the movie either. No, none of that. Yeah.
But still a good movie even without Sting.
Sans Sting, still stellar. Yes, absolutely. I agree on this. I probably watched Dune before I cut off Max. I think I watched the first episode of the series, and it did. See, I understand that, and I had, even though I did enjoy Dune Part One, I couldn't say that it would have ranked nearly as high. And this movie, I feel, is just you've got a strong property with Dune Part One, and then it's just stratospheric for me personally. I really love the movie, and even though it's not quite lightsabers, you do have some electric sword knives and other kind of stuff. So yeah,
Well,
it's a lot of fun.
again, asking from a position of ignorance, asking from somebody who did not make it into the seat in the theater or in any kind of a way for this. And
Mm-hmm.
would you say that there's a tonal similarity, a commitment to the genre, maybe as would be the case in your Rogue One, or I'm trying to blank on the. I know we've talked about it before, but it's the Disney Plus, and now I'm like, what? Let me hem and haw, so you're not sure what I'm talking about. The Disney Plus with the series that was pretty hardcore from Star Wars, that was then like really committed to sci-fi. Andor. Okay, so what is there a similar commitment to the genre as one might find in Andor?
I think that's a really interesting question. Yeah, I think it is, right, and that's actually a really great analogy, because you've got the seriousness for sure. It is a kind of a heavy movie, and you've got the mythology and kind of mysticism happening, along with maybe a little bit of commentary about technology and other things in the movie, and also going back to the earlier comment about colonialism and oppression too. And Dune, to my understanding, was an influence for George Lucas in creating Star Wars, or A New Hope. So you've got perhaps similar themes to a degree in this movie. Yeah, I think it is of that caliber of seriousness, Mr. C. Yeah. And yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Ryans. Yeah, loved the Dune flicks, and I thought Empire Strikes Back, yeah, made Star Wars better when it came out. I think that's a fair comment. Also, some love for Gleaming the Cube. I know what Gleaming the Cube is. Yes, the Christian Slater skater movie. Yeah, kind of a deep cut. Okay, Skywalker's Academy. Yeah, the first movie is okay, enjoyable. I didn't run around, pulling worms out of the ground like I ran around pretending everything straight and narrow was a lightsaber. I totally get that. And yeah, and so yeah, and again, it is that. I think that's a similar kind of analogy, that seriousness there for sure. And then okay, Jim Campbell asks, David Lynch thoughts. Mr. C, I haven't finished watching it. After the passing of David Lynch, I started rewatching Blue Velvet. I have not watched that movie since probably the 90s. And I found the movie, my distinct memory back then was that it was kind of scary, kind of intense for me. The version of myself at that time may have been in the 80s that I saw it. but now watching it, I'm only halfway in the rewatch. Um, it's fantastic. It's really a great movie. Anyways, any thoughts?
My thoughts, comments on Lynch. So first, I'm not a Lynch expert nor
Yeah,
maven nor student of Lynch, but just from general being around, osmotiating what you can. I think definitely the word auteur comes to mind.
yeah.
Think outside the box. Innovator comes to mind for Lynch, and it's it would be great if these cylinders in here could at least sometimes fire in a Lynch like manner for both concept execution and then having that concept to execution be part of your body of work.
Hmm. Yeah, no, truly, an innovator, an artist, and yeah, phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to finishing the rewatch of Blue Velvet. And I've noticed on social media a lot of love for the Log Lady from Twin Peaks. I had kind of forgotten a lot about the Log Lady, or a lot of about. See, some people remember these distinctive bits. Like, yes, have a slice of cherry pie and coffee black for David Lynch. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna rewatch Twin Peaks. I did watch it back in the day, watched it end to end when when it first aired. I did watch Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me in the theater back in the day. Have not revisited that. I might take a look at that again. Awesome. Well, hey, Mr. C, this was a lot of fun. We talked about a little bit more than just movies, and it was all
Hey,
exceptionally fun.
but again, the community, right there. There's the initial thing, and then there's the community that comes around it. And to have, I'm new to interact with Skywalker Academy. I'm relatively new to
Awesome.
interact with Chris Royans, but
Yeah.
to get a comment section including a Jim Campbell, a Chai Star G, a Skywalker Academy, and a Chris Royans, that's what it's all about. Just trying to have fun with it. A little bit of nostalgia. What did we enjoy as younger people back in the day? A little bit of just whatever we want to talk about for and hopefully other people are enjoying the conversation as well.
No, absolutely. And as we often say, right, this is in 2025 essentially our the older version of our younger selves just talking at the playground, right? Just talking about whatever, talking about toys and movies and all that great memories. So really appreciate that. Okay, yes, and if you could do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe. And yeah, no, thank you for that comment there, Mr. Ryans. And yeah, yes, in the 1984 movie, Sting played the character that was played by in this latest movie, Austin Butler. So that's he. But Sting does not appear in the new movies. That would be
Nor Andy Summers, nor Stuart Copeland.
all right. So I'm going to do just very quickly, if we can, Mr. C, before you got to go. So thoughts on Captain America 4? Will it save Marvel? It's less than 2 hours. I have my tickets already. It's
I'll
had the
say
reshoots.
short format, it'll boost Marvel, but after Deadpool Wolverine, Marvel ain't need no saving no more. Prior to Deadpool Wolverine, it did need a saving, but there'll be those who are done with it. There'll be those who are not done with it. I think it might not break records, but it will be a solid performance, both in the story and at the box office yield. Those are my closing thoughts towards
No, that's
Captain
good.
4.
Yeah, I enjoyed Captain America and the Winter Soldier. We used to do live streams about that. It had its pluses and minuses, but overall, I enjoyed that series and love Anthony Mackie as Captain America. So very interested in that. Movies you're looking forward to. That's a great question. Well, I think Wicked Part 2 is front of mind for me, absolutely. That's all I got at the moment off the cuff.
We
Mr.
will
C, any thoughts?
we will owe Jim Campbell the answer to that question. That's the same as the when's the next live stream combo. When is the next live stream, and what movies are we looking forward to? Stay tuned. And just tomorrow, I'm going to be on with MIB recapping. So the horror host Hall of Famer, the Cleveland area guy is Big Chuck. Chuck, I hope I'm going to say his name. Well, Big Chuck and Little John show. So tomorrow, MIB and me are going to get into that. But after that, we'll look at what other movies are coming up.
And just as a reminder for everybody, what time is that live stream tomorrow, Mr. C?
I think we're 7 Central, but if you just check my my little feed over on Mr. C Dives In, it's listed for tomorrow to see how it matches up to your local time. So
no, that's absolutely right. Yeah, and yes, I I don't know something that, yeah. So absolutely, thank you for thank you for watching. Absolutely recommend everybody come over to Mr. C Dives In to watch the live stream on Mr. C's channel. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your Saturday with us. And if we didn't get to one of your movies, if you had a different favorite movie, favorite 5 movie of 2024, post it in the comments, because we would love to continue the conversation with you. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Do us a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I'm going to close us out here. Thanks so much. This has been the Fanboy Cantina.